Select Board meeting was called to order at 6:30 p.m. followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Members present: Joel Chapman, Jesse Wallingford, Bill Savage, Sean Corson, Diane Campbell, Susan Rooms, Susan Strout, and Lori Arsenal. Public present: Wally Litchfield, Cheryl Savage, Lori Hand, Marianne Haxton, Deb Freno, Marcia Turcott, Amy Corson, Kristen Chapman, Jeffrey Poole, Sandra Farrer, Richard Estes, Rick Newton, Nancy Newton, Douglas Fournier, Brian Phillips, Hank Phillips, Lee Berry, and Don Berry. The minutes from the Select Board meeting from February 13th, 2024 were read and approved as amended with a motion by Chapman, seconded by Wallingford and Vogel. We approved warrant 19 for expenses 15,359 and 15,374 through 383. Receipts 1,444 to 1,511. Percent of 2023 real estate taxes collected was 84%. Nothing to discuss in open session. For the RSU 10 report, Kristen Chapman reported that there is no cost to the town for the new school. Maine Department of Education covers it, and Mexico waived the $12,000 in permit costs. Red Collins was not in attendance for the code enforcement officer report. For the fire department report, Doug Fournier reported the fire trucks and all equipment are inspected and working. For the roads report, Sean Corson stated that all roads have been posted. For the animal control report, Corson reported things have been quiet for a couple of weeks and going well. For forms reports and correspondence, the water test done for the Sumner town office passed and showed safe levels. New business: 18 foreclosure notices for properties where unpaid taxes will be going out on March 5th, 2024. The Roads Committee was nominated and the bylaws were voted in. The board reported there are 5 nominees: Bill Glass, Eugene Lucas, Zach Brown, Dan Prong, and David Bragg. This is a 2-year nomination. The Road Committee will meet once a month most of the year, and then quarterly from November through May. There must be a quorum of 3 members to take a vote. Minutes will be taken at the Roads Committee meetings. The Road Committee will be asked to present a review once a year, which will include a 5-year projection. Corson is looking to hire a grant writer for $3,000 per year. The plan was approved with a motion by Savage, seconded by Wallingford and Vogel. Residents will be allowed to attend these meetings. The winter roads plowing contract has been extended for 2 years as optioned by current contract. The extension will use the same terms as current contract, including a $2,000 increase per mile per year. The Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary is receiving donations in memory of Betty Walder. The auxiliary is selling raffle tickets for a handmade quilt created by Nancy Newton. Tickets are $1 each or $5 for 6 tickets. The drawing will be held on June 1st, 2024. Old business. The deputy town clerk position has been posted on the town website, and we have received 2 applications as of the time of that meeting. Campbell will post the opening on the MMA website Interviews will be set up in the next 2 weeks. Mary Ann Haxon gave an update on the GWI grant. A meeting was held with representatives of GWI that she and Bill Savage attended. Potential locations for a hub at this time include at the municipal building, on the property across from the elementary school, and west of the sand pile. GWI will present a proposed lease and take care of insuring the area. They need a 20 by 12 area plus space for 3 propane tanks of 420 pounds. GWI will need to add 2 poles, one on Kitteridge Road and one on Estes Road. These will need to be placed on private property. The new appliances purchased with the efficiency grant were delivered on Friday, February 23rd. The lighting will be installed by Don Berry after supplies are received. The plan to hire a cleaning person is still to be evaluated in terms of employee or contractor status. Concerns with insurance and workers' comp are being explored through the Department of Labor. Upcoming events. Town department budgets are due by February 29th, 2024. Presidential primary election will be March 5th, 2024. Polls open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Date for the annual town meeting has been set for Saturday, June 22nd, 2024. Meeting was adjourned with a motion by Wallingford, seconded by Chapman, and so voted at 8:02 p.m. Minutes of the February 27, 2024 Select Board submitted by Susan Stroud.
Motion that we accept those minutes as read.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Minutes accepted as read. Okay. The Select Board reviewed and signed warrant number 20. Expenses, $167,696.22. Receipts, $34,937.76. We have now collected to date 85.1% of the 2023 real estate taxes. If you want a breakdown of what I just read, it's on the back of your agenda. Okay, open session. Before we begin open session, I would just like to address a couple of anonymous letters that we have received and some comments that have gone around on Facebook concerning the special town meeting that we had a few weeks ago and bills that we needed to pay there. I think there's a misunderstanding or an idea going around that there could have been funds stolen or misappropriated. I just want to let everyone know that those numbers that we approved on that warrant were still sitting there in the general fund. The taxes had just not been paid for whatever reason, etc. So I just wanted to put any fears to rest that that money had disappeared somewhere in the matrix. So with that, we'll begin open session, and we have a presentation from GWI.
Hey everybody, my name is Derek Gagnon, with WI as I mentioned. First and foremost, I just want to thank Mary Ann and Bill for coordinating this meeting to meet with you all today, and as well as meeting with us on site to look at some locations for potential equipment locations. Just to kind of give you an overview of what I'd like to touch on with the community today is obviously GWI is super excited about bringing high-speed broadband into the Sumner community. We'd like to speak at a high level to the development aspects of that, where it's going, what we're trying to do in the community to provide service, obviously and other services around us, such as phone service, and the pricing and our position in the community, especially as a local Maine company. So we're going to touch on the development piece and also speak to maybe the services and speeds. And at the end, we figured we could do like a question Q&A session with you folks to ensure that you all will have questions with us, and which we'd be happy to help answer as well. If there is, great. If there isn't, that's fine too. First and foremost, I just wanted to introduce, actually, if the three of you don't mind coming up now, just so I can kind of introduce everybody. Again, Derek Gagnon, GWI. My job is, you can come stand over here on the side.
Okay.
Quite easy. Previous selectmen meetings, I noticed that this was kind of the side to go. So, I just wanted to introduce, the team associated with GWI. Obviously, my name is Derek Gagnon, and I handle a lot of the community engagement stuff, both at the business and residential level. I work with Mary Ann, the broadband chair, that I've been working with for several years. And obviously, it's nice to meet the selectmen in person today, and we met Bill before. But I handle community engagement on the sales side, kind of in charge of development and help everybody else that's standing here coordinate everything so that we can make this a success. This is Peter Ukaitis. He's the project manager. And if you just wanted to let them know a little bit about what you do. And
Sure. So I've been with GWI a little over 20 years now. Held a few different roles, management and tech support and stuff, but project management's been my thing for a few years now. So I've been overseeing the project pretty much, and excited to bring it here.
I'm Tom Gilmore. I'm the OSP outside plant manager, project manager. Basically, I design the project for the town of Sumner. I work closely with the contractors to make sure the construction goes as smoothly as possible. I'm also the one that's mainly nagging everybody about a hut site, trying to figure out where we can place that, because that's going to be the main hub of everything for this network. That hut's going to contain all the electronics and stuff like that. So that is my main goal right now, but I oversee the construction.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Ann Fox. I'm with Hawkeye Fiber Optics. We're the fiber optics construction contractor that's partnered up with GWI to help build the initial infrastructure. So you'll start to, when we get the project underway, you'll start to see our crews around. You'll start to kind of get familiar and be like, oh, look, it's Hawkeye, and hopefully that generates some excitement. Usually that's what we see once you see like, oh wow, great, fiber's finally being built. Hopefully that starts to generate some excitement. But we've been in business since 2015. We're local in Poland, Maine, so we're not too far from here. We're super excited about this project because it's really close to home. In fact, we've got employees that live in the area, Canton, Mexico, Rumford, Farmington. So we're really excited to be here in Sumner working with you guys. So thanks for having us.
thank you. No, that's great. Mary Ann did a great job of kind of giving some background. GWI has been around since '94. We're from Biddeford. We have employees scattered throughout the state, especially, field engineers live in different parts, people work in different areas. It's been kind of a hybrid workforce right ever since the pandemic. There's people that work remotely, there's people that report to the office, and a mix of both. So we also have a new warehousing location in Lewiston as well. So just real quickly, I just wanted to give an overview. Everybody's wondering, well, where is the fiber going, right? And so I can hand this one to the selectman if you want to pass it around. This gives you a kind of a high-level idea of where, and I'll hand it to you, Marion, if you just want to pass it behind you after you have a chance to look at it. This gives you kind of a high-level idea of what the design and what the physical infrastructure fiber cable, the actual paths of where they're going to go to. Just keep in mind that some of this may be subject to change. The majority of that design is the way it's going to be built out. We still have some line easement situations that we have to figure out that could change the direction of where we bring the fiber, you know, to get it through where it needs to go. But that is the design. We're excited to build throughout the Sumner community. It is touching other towns, which you'll notice as well. But the great thing about your community is, you know, I've heard a lot of people talk about, you know, first lights in town, and that's great. You know, and having another fiber provider in town is only better for your community, providing you choice, keeping costs low, providing quality service and all those things. So I hope that you folks are very excited about it, because there's a lot of communities that would be super excited about having that opportunity for multiple residential broadband service providers. Some of the, and as part of that design, there's 508 passings, and it covers across 72 miles. So just to kind of give you an idea of the number of residences and/or businesses or buildings that actually have access to that, it's right around, it's over 500. You know, give or take, 508 is our current number right now, but I suppose that could change a little bit as well and grow. I guess if, Tom, you wanted to kind of, if this is okay with the selectmen, just kind of touch on the hut and his experience and conversations about the hut locations. Maybe we can touch on that a little bit, and also, you know, touch on the possibilities of maybe working with the Lucas Enterprises property as a potential staging area and those types of things. Yeah, I could mention, as you know, like I said before, First Light in the community, you know, they have their own service offerings, and a lot of what we've been working on, especially with Mary Ann over the last, it's been 6 or 7 years. There's a lot of this grant process, which, as I mentioned before, I think when my email was communicated, is that GWI is invested in this grant as much as the grant has come to us through funding, right? And a lot of it is centered around underserved and unserved communities that don't have high-speed broadband internet access. And there's a certain speed level that is consistent with that idea. I believe currently it's 25 by 3, so 25 meg download speed and 3 meg upload speed is kind of the level that they're looking at to whether it's considered underserved or unserved. And so when you go through the grant process, those things are kind of identified. So GWI, and in working with communities like yourself, we have to be strategic about, okay, how are we going to design this? How is it going to be built out? So a lot of this design has to do with getting service where a lot of people don't have service currently, just so that you know that. And in some areas, yes, First Light will have service, but in a lot of areas, they will not have service, and GWI will be the only provider. It could be the case for First Light, depending on where they are in certain areas, but just so that you have a rough idea on how the grant process works and our investment in this project, that kind of gives you a high-level idea of what's looked at. Thank you.
In the process of explaining that, one of the questions that came up a couple of weeks ago was just an understanding of that minimum speed and whether that's minimum speed coming out of the hub or if that's still minimum speed at the end of the line.
So that's
What you're seeing in your house. So if you basically DSL is what it is. If you have DSL your speed is supposed to be 25 down below 3 up. But with DSL, you never really get those speeds, right?
Further up you go, the worse.
Well, yeah,
Further
yeah.
you are, you're limited to that 3 mile radius with DSL. Once you get out to 3 miles, you don't have a signal.
Right.
And so just to add to that, like for instance with DSL, the closer you are, the faster speed. So the person that's 1,000 feet from that service facility is going to have a faster service experience than a person that's 2.5 miles from that service facility.
How is that different from high speed from fiber?
Well, fiber broadband, fiber is glass, and so it's shedding a light, and it can go as far as the electronics can carry it, from one end to the other. That's the difference, whereas DSL is more distance sensitive across copper, whereas fiber is glass strands.
The speed's the same no matter where you are on the network.
Correct. And it's symmetrical.
Same on, same time.
Same down. Correct.
Yes, sir.
Are you going to be using your own cable, or will you be using First Light cable?
No, it's on.
Yeah, we'll be constructing our own network.
Your
So
own
we have
network.
our own fiber.
And whose poles are you going to use?
They'll still be the same poles that are out there now. We had to come through a few months ago and do pole surveys with CMP and First Light, because they're the pole owners. So I came and did pole surveys with them, and they're working on doing link ready, basically making space for us on the poles, so we'll just be attaching the same poles.
So you will be renting it from them?
So we have to
Yes.
lease a space on every single pole, we have to put in an application and have a license for every single pole that we attach.
The majority of those poles are owned by CMP, but in some cases, they're shared ownership with First Light.
And that's, well, you initially said that that's like 85 to 90% already you already have those.
So all the applications are in and we've received a majority of the make-ready estimates. So when we receive those estimates, we pay the estimates and they start to go out. I'm sure you guys have seen them out on the poles moving wires in some places
Yeah, we're
already.
ability to relocate wires to make room for us, or replace poles, and new poles needed. But yeah, I believe all the make-readies are back at this
From
point.
the first, like, yeah.
I
so
found
the
that
others
too
from
from CMP.
Okay.
So
All the
yeah,
first
all
11
that.
applications.
Right,
Yeah.
so we're just waiting for that make-ready to complete, and then once they give us the go-ahead, they give us the license for the pole, that's when we can start construction.
And that's when Mary Ann's step comes in and her team will be the one actually hanging the fiber on the poles.
Tom, did you want to speak to the HUD discussions that you had and possibilities surrounding that?
Yeah, I mean, so the HUD is, like I mentioned earlier, it is the central brain of the network, right? So it's going to have all the electronics, everything is going to stem from there, and it'll feed out to the entire network. So obviously that is a very important item for us to get figured out, a spot where we might be able to put this up. We've been in talks with Bill, and I've been in talks with a private seller as well, just trying to figure out what we have as options and where we can place this hut. Bill gave us, I think it was three or four options, or one's off the table.
Yeah, we're down to one.
Yep.
We're
We're down
down
to
to
one?
one.
Which one are we down to?
The one beside the pit, right?
Yes. Yep.
Alright, I love that one. Alright, so basically, the problem with that one, just to be, clear, it kind of sits down, it's below the water line, there's some water can pool there, be a lot of site prep. Obviously, it's not something that outside of our abilities, we could do it, but if we had a more ideal location, we'd look at that as well. But that is definitely our top priority right now, is to find a spot for that and get that hut. Everything that we need to have done with it, CMP, run a line, all that kind of stuff, all the site prep, get that done so we have that ready to go. When they finish construction, everything will just be turned up and be fine. Not to say that if we don't get that hut, we're not turning people up. We're definitely still gonna do that. We just have to go through a different path that we'd rather avoid, just rather have this hut set up and ready to go.
Curious why the town office wasn't an option.
Because that's
Lots of
where our
space.
leach field is.
Correct.
So
That'd be-
that house was off the table too, huh?
Pardon?
The house that was up?
That's still, we still don't have
It's still
worked out the bugs on
Okay,
that. Yeah.
That's fine, all right. So the west of the sand. What's up?
So west and or east. And how
Right.
the conversation goes. Eventually that may come up, I suppose.
And just so everybody's aware, this isn't like a big garish building or anything like that. It's a 10 by 10, tan, just, I think it's 10 foot high as well. Smaller building, and it's not going to be manned at all times. We're not going to have a lot of traffic going in and out of there. It is simply the electronics that power the network. There'll be a technician, maybe every month or so to check filters, change filters, check all the equipment and stuff like that. But it's not going to be something where we'll be constantly in and out of it, causing we're not going to be in the way. It's just going to be sitting there, nondescript kind of building.
So if you pared that down from the 18 by 12,
So no, the 8 or the 12 by 20 is the pad, the concrete pad. The building itself is 10 by 10. We have the concrete pad bigger to support the propane tanks and the generator. And actually, I wanted to speak to something that you mentioned in your minutes from last meeting about a pole set on Coscola. It's not, what we're looking for in that area, from Coscola to Estes Road, when we had the initial plan, thought there was a road that a continuous road there. Turns out it's not. I think it's Estes runs into the woods and then continues out, and Costco picks up in the West Paris area. So we were planning on building that entire stretch, but now we have to figure out what we can do in that tree line. If we're allowed to plant poles, whoever owns the property, if they prefer us to go underground, we can do that as well. We're just trying to figure out who has that easement, how we can get permission to, it's not just one pole. It would be multiple poles, because I believe it's like, I want to say 3/4 of a mile is that stretch. So it would either have to be multiple poles or underground section. Same thing with Swan Pond Road too. I know you guys don't have anything on Swan Pond. It's, I think it's all direct area out there right now, but we're interested in either placing poles or if we have to go underground up that road as well.
Yes, sir?
I just had a technical question. Is the cable for fiber stronger than electrical cable that supplies electricity?
Stronger like.
In other words, we have a few ice storms.
You want to explain the strand?
So, yeah, I mean, so it definitely holds up. Obviously, we have a metal strand that we have to attach to, and then the fiber gets attached to that. So that's, especially the main fiber, mainline fiber, backbone fiber, the lateral fibers, it's not really a concern. Obviously, trees coming down, crazy ice storms, things like that, anything can happen. But for the most part, it's not an issue. Obviously, the fiber networks all throughout the state of Maine, so we're used to ice and snow and things like that. Usually when you run into trouble like that is drops to houses, just because they're a smaller fiber, they're not as strong, they're not stranded. So they can be succumb to like a lot of ice and snow, but again, it's not very typical of that. Staging area?
Yeah, so if I don't know if the selectmen want to comment on it or Tom, but we heard that or Marianne actually could probably speak to it, but we understand that, there's some interest in the, I believe it's Lucas Enterprises property to use as a staging area for our contractor, Hawkeye Fiber Optics, trucks and equipment. I believe Marianne had a conversation with the owner that could be a potential. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that and see if there was any questions or anything else that either the selectmen or Tom wanted to discuss around that, or anything that you wanted to bring up, Marianne.
I think we're just, my conversation with Julie indicated that they'd like to talk with you.
Yep.
And then, because it's an unknown where we'll be.
Yes, correct. Correct on whether it goes back to the market or gets sold, sure. So that's to be determined. I wanted to bring it up though as part of one of the topics. The next piece I wanted to touch on is just kind of the service and speeds. Yep. Did you want to add
Oh,
something?
yes, please.
Yep.
So it's good to have a plan B and plan C. We definitely are very appreciative to talk, we'll talk about this in process. We're not picky. It's just a place to land anywhere from 4 to 8 or so trucks. And anything that's super heavy, like our reels of fiber and things that we don't want to transport back and forth. So it doesn't necessarily have to be paved. That is kind of more nice to have. But it'd be good to get some options in case that property doesn't fall,
But can you speculate size, you said less than an acre.
Yeah, I mean, size, at this point, don't worry about size details. I'm thinking like if we can get, 3 to 5 different options of properties, we'll just take a look and, try to determine what's best. But, beggars can't be choosy, so we're open to ideas.
Okay, so we can talk about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
How long will this take? So if we found a property, how long will it be tied up?
So a lot of that depends on the make-ready process. That's kind of an unknown that's underway right now. That could take several months to complete. So I think the idea is hopefully start by fall, right? Maybe sooner.
Yeah, we're hoping to have the licenses by midsummer and start.
That
Yeah,
would be
absolutely.
awesome, because we would love
If
to
not
just be
sooner.
out
If
of
not
there,
sooner.
a couple months and before winter if possible. That's ideal. If something's delayed, that might change the timeline a little bit, but ideally it would be midsummer, maybe fall, hopefully out of there by winter.
So how long do you project the waiting time to do it?
Couple months.
They're fast.
Super fast.
Yeah.
So,
Lots of trucks, a lot of work.
And again, it comes down to, what make ready is, CMP and First Light and the pole owners going out there, or any utility for that matter that has infrastructure on the poles. If they have to move it, the pole needs to get replaced. If if infrastructure path has to change, different things can come up along the way that can extend the time. We're like your community, the sooner the better, obviously, but things do come up, and as the weeks pass by and the next couple of months go by, we'll learn more about that.
And just to give you all peace of mind too, we'll have a dumpster there that at our cost, a porta potty again at our cost. And then, we're very picky about taking care of the property that we're on. So it'll be the same condition that we got it, if not better, when we leave it. So we'll make sure to clean it all up and, if there's any ruts or mud and things like that, we take care of that. So just wanted to go over that.
Thank you, Mary. Anything else around that?
I'd like to, I know that we had a conversation, and I want to make sure that my understanding is correct on it, but your grant allows you to get to places that are rural in nature that don't already have service. But do you also have, through that grant process, the ability to overbuild over existing lines that are already there?
Well, I think that's inherent in the grant process anyway, regardless of what you do, because the backbone cables have to go somewhere, and a lot of times they're coming near the same central hubs that other providers can be in. So yeah, certainly we're gonna be on the same poles as other providers.
Even on the laterals?
I'm sorry?
Even on the laterals that are coming off the main hub lines, you can overbuild.
yeah, I mean, this design in particular, right, any grant design that we've had done, it has to be verified and approved by the MCA, right? So they say, hey, this is fine.
And that's main connectivity.
Oh, sorry.
Authority.
But so basically, yeah, it is allowed, we're allowed to overbuild past competitors, anybody else on the poles. They've determined that enough of the project area is feeding the unserved, underserved, that they've approved all of this. So everything, I mean, like you said, that red line on the photo, by the way, is the backbone fiber.
Right.
So the big fiber, that one's gonna be running down basically the main road, main road, all that stuff. So we're gonna definitely be overbuilding spectrum in some areas, First Light in the other areas. But it is all, it's not like we're just saying this is what we're doing, it's all been approved, and it is within the rights and within the grants to do it.
So all those yellow lines on the map you're gonna be building.
Yes,
to
those are
all
the last
those
fibers,
areas.
yes.
So it's part of the requirement of the grant that we serve those locations. That's the whole reason for the grant.
Yep.
And the greens are what?
Service location. Oh, those are drops. They probably don't need to be on there.
Well, they're,
Drops as in.
Drop fiber
From
from
the
the
pole
pole
to
to
the
the
house.
house. So those are just kind of perspective.
Yeah, and that's kind of zoomed out, right?
Location,
So it probably looks more specific if we were to zoom into it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's basically,
Yeah, looks like my house.
yeah, could be.
could be.
And that's
So now you know
actually,
you look-
that brings up a great point. So, people are gonna be asking, well, where can I find out if, you know, if my residence, you know, is a part of this bill or qualifies for this? In the coming weeks, we're gonna be setting up a landing page on the GWI.net website, where you can come in and submit an inquiry for your address. You can provide your name, your address, your contact information, email, phone number, etc. And we can help you answer some of those questions. We also, you know, have the ability to take in inquiries. You know, you're certainly, you know, we're more than happy to take inquiries now if you want to reach out to GWI and ask questions about it. You know, we'd be certainly happy to answer, you know, if your home qualifies or your business qualifies and those types of things. So I did want to touch on that, and that kind of blends in well to my next topic about services and speeds. GWI, as I mentioned, we're going to be providing both residential and business grade broadband service. That also includes phone service. Residential service options are going to start at $54.95 a month. And that's going to be a 250 by 250 meg internet service. That's the lowest speed tier. It goes up to 500 meg. That's $74.95 a month. And then 1 full gigabit. And now that's symmetric. It's 250 meg download and 250 meg upload. Same with 500 and the gigabit. Those are symmetrical service speeds. Also, you can, if you have an analog or a landline phone line that you'd like GWI to provide over the fiber service as an option, for $14.95 a month, you can receive phone service. We can also provide you Wi-Fi. Our gateway and/or modem/router that some of you may have at home can provide wireless access. It also has ports on the back of it to provide phone service if there's not a, actually to provide phone service through that gateway, if it doesn't come through an outlet in your home. Also a part of that is we can also provide a mesh network. People ask, well, what does mesh mean? Mesh is a way to extend your wireless coverage. So if you have a single router and it's providing a certain amount of distance and coverage around your home and you want to extend that, we have access points, extenders that you can add on to that router to make a bigger coverage area within your home. It has to be a GWI provided hardware. People will not be able to go out to Best Buy or Walmart or wherever and buy their own extenders to try to hook on to our hardware. In order for us to be able to provide the quality of service that we want to provide and control that, it's important that we provide the hardware so that we can manage it and make sure that we're delivering the quality of service that we need to deliver. We wouldn't be able to do that with other purchases outside of which GWI provides. Any questions on the service side? Service and speeds?
Will there be a installation fee for people that want to sign on?
Touch upon that.
Yep.
So the first 250 feet from the road is covered in the install. There is no install fee if you're within that 250 feet. After that 250 feet, I think it's $1.50 a foot to extend that.
And you provide the equipment free of charge at the home?
Yeah, so for the wireless service, there's an additional $5 a month for the wireless service. And I think it's $7.50 for an extender.
Right.
As far as We can shut the Wi-Fi off though, if people do want to use their own wireless. We just wouldn't be able to support that wireless signal, right? Our support would end at the modem, the device, basically, because we wouldn't have access to your equipment to be able to efficiently troubleshoot that.
So for folks who either haven't or are on the short end of knowledge base, so your customer service will be able to help people understand how to hook up, how to do it well, and kind of digital literacy process.
Absolutely. You know, some older equipment sometimes, you know, if you have real old computers and stuff, sometimes you can't process a higher speed or whatever, if the computer can't handle it, right? But for the most part, you have to be, you know, somewhat recent. Yeah, not Windows 3.1, you know. So.
But yes, we do it with customers every day. We've been doing it since 1994, so absolutely we will be able to help.
So one of the other questions that I think's been asked in the past is around, we don't have a contract with First Light, it's just been on, and we have the choice. That creates a choice for us. If it's going by us, we can choose to have to go on.
And we don't have contracts.
Correct.
Month to month.
And there was some question about, is there any place in Sumner that fits in the proprietary thing for First Light that you can't service?
Wherever we're building, we can provide service. The last piece was just if anybody else had any questions, just a Q&A session before we wrap up. If anybody else had questions about what we're doing.
I think my thought of talking with them in the past is that we hope there'll be a date in which we can say, you know, either the make ready are all done and we can do a press release and we can start the communication, like create a link to your website and start getting people.
Yes,
excited
of
about
course.
the
That'll be a
process.
part of my coordination and communication with yourself,
And market, right?
as well as the community, and with also our marketing head, Colin.
We'll all hope and work for it to get some help.
And that will kind of blend into creating a specific Sumner landing page that can provide all the details about services and speeds and you know, the ability to provide a submission if you have questions. So.
And it seems to be moving along pretty well so far. So we're
Not going.
yeah, we're excited that we're making so far.
If GWI as their hub here, are other towns going to benefit because of our hub location? Are you going to be extending to other communities from that hub?
No, the hub itself will just power this network.
Just this
That's what
one?
we're using it for.
So I know that in the past it's mentioned that you wanted to extend into West Paris.
There'll be an extension, possibly. We're not sure if that's actually even going to happen. There's a potential for an extension down that way, but it's not like the entire town of West Paris. It's just kind of going down a little bit further off of that. For that route there.
And that would all be related to if the grants
Right.
fall into place and if they're still available and all that. It's nothing that we have right now.
Yeah, that's no guarantee.
What would be the, if you don't mind me asking, Bill, what would be the concern there?
I was just curious.
You're just curious?
Yeah, whether,
This is all a grant that was initially included Hartford and Hebron on the back when.
Right,
And
right.
then it was rewritten for just Sumner.
And that's because of the first coverage that was already there. So because part of those grants has to be the underserved or non-served, that's why
Yeah.
that footprint changed, because First Light had services that overlapped there.
And I know too, there was a different process there too, because I think there was a set amount of ARPA funds, or funds that were set aside from Sumner on the first round. And then the second round, it was done differently, as well as, what he's speaking to as well, so. Yeah.
I'll follow up on that, why I had a concern about that, because there was correspondence from you stating that you wanted to connect Buckfield to West Paris. And I think I have that here somewhere.
So Buckfield is part of this network right now. We're covering some areas in Buckfield
Yeah, but
as
that's,
well.
yeah, no, I understand
Oh,
that,
okay.
but a letter from you stated that you wanted to connect Buckfield with West Paris. And that Sumner was an ideal.
Yeah, if you can,
So-
if you can bring up that correspondence, yeah.
See if I can find it here.
I can speak to it, it's hard to guess.
And it may have been more that Sumner is more of the centralized location for
And
the
I
network
think
that
that,
we're
I think
building.
that's.
And I think that's what it might have been.
Bear with me, see if I can find
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no.
Continue on.
Yeah, well, the hub has to
Well,
be
If you look,
centrally located in order for. it to
if you look
serve.
at this map, these red lines are backbone.
Right,
These
right.
red lines backbone. They all come together right in this area, right?
Right.
So, if that answers your question. I'm not sure what you're specifically talking about as far as the correspondence having to do with those other towns, but I'd be happy to.
Well, that might have been from Tom's original email where.
It was an
saying
email
where
that I
it was
received that stated that.
Centrally located as far as Sumner for the hub. Because I think you started the original conversations about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not connecting Buckfield to Sumner, but in the plan, in the build, we do touch Buckfield, we do touch Hartford, we do touch West Paris, and obviously Sumner. So the hut will power all of that. So yeah, I mean, part of Buckfield and part of Hartford and part of West Paris are gonna have service coming from that hut.
Yeah,
But the main reason is to have it, or the main idea is to have it centrally located because of the electronics we use to power. So basically, you have 20 kilometers from that hut site to we start seeing degraded service. So everything within 20 kilometers of that hut is going to be fine. That's why we want it as central to the project as possible.
What feeds the circuit? And is there a level of EMF surrounding that area that's of a potentially concerning level? Like, I know a lot of people who've gone with the Starlink system have had issues with it essentially messing with some of their other electronics and things like that.
So that's satellite. I'm assuming we'll probably get a connection from First Light, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, it's going to be up with your environment most likely.
So our actual main feed into that hut would be fiber optics from the original 3-ring binder network, which First Light purchased.
Gotcha, so they're just gonna.
Right, it's light over glass. There's no
Shouldn't be any interference or anything like that.
no microwave towers or anything. That's nothing like that.
But of course, you know, with Starlink being a satellite service, you know, that's gonna fight all microwaves in the air, right? So if you're down in a valley, you're probably not gonna have very good luck with Starlink, you know? And so there's a number of different interferences over and above what's in the air, you know? The ground has a lot to do with it too, the level of the ground, whether you're in peaks or valleys. If you're on top of a hill, then Starlink, you know, should be able to hit fairly decent, but.
It may be.
Some people
There's
love
a number of
it. It all
factors.
depends where you are. you know?
Yeah, I've used it all over the world, but it is slower in certain places, especially if you're in the valley.
Yep.
That's the nice thing about fiber as well, because it's glass, so it's impervious to that interference that you get from like copper. So copper, they deal with noise all the time, ingress getting in, and it destroys your service. Fiber, we don't have that.
Well, an example, a street light, if you have DSL, a street light turning on at night can actually interfere with your DSL. You would never know it, you would start to lose connection, you think, oh my gosh, it's the service provider, it's this, that, and the other. It's some electromagnetic interference from something in the environment, because it's running over copper and it's electrical current. So, inherent.
I think one of the people asked about the what about bad weather and everything? If I recall, one of the issues we had overseas is it takes a really skilled person to splice in the backhoe if you have any issues with that. But I would imagine that all
They're very skilled.
everything,
They are very skilled.
yeah, coming off of that is probably a plug and play. I would imagine they're pretty close.
It depends on the damage, so there are, potentially fiber breaks that could occur, like the tree falls on the line, or, you have an arborist out there and that happens probably more often than you might think.
He's an arborist. How many fiber damages?
So, I mean, we'll work with GWI to respond to those types of emergencies to make sure that, service is restored as soon as possible.
And just to speak on Hawkeye themselves, we've done a ton of work with Hawkeye. They are a preferred contractor. They're very good, very efficient, very quick, and we've never had an issue with them getting out and getting repairs done.
And you talk about splicing, so each one of these drops to each house, they're a quick connector. There is no splicing for the installer when they come out to do it. So they're not gonna be out there fusion splicing up on the pole. They're just gonna basically plug it in and then run it to the house on the install side.
I think the other thing that, from my perspective, that supports my enthusiasm for GWI is it's a Maine-based company, it's a B Corp, and believes in that we get as much service as the company gets profit. So confident that the kind of customer service that we'll have from GWI is top-notch.
Big on privacy too. I think we're trailblazers on the whole privacy thing. If you look up on our website, our founder Fletcher, real big on that. So we're actually one of the oldest internet service providers in the country. If you think about it, 1994. How many people were on the internet in 1994? Not very many. When I came on, we had 80,000 dial-up customers. So it's a whole different company. Certainly, I've been there 20 years, I've seen it change. So. Always evolving. Technology is changing faster than people can even imagine.
We had some good questions a couple weeks ago. Anybody out there? All right.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.
What's that?
Yeah, okay.
No, that's what I figured.
I just have one question. But, Mary Ann is my contact as well.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys.
Thank
If you guys have any questions.
Thank you, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Come out. Okay, before we close up open session, is there any questions, comments, concerns from the audience you'd like to address at this time? Okay, RSU 10 report, Krista Chapman.
All right, well, we're in budget season, and last night we looked at the areas of special ed, nursing, Mount Valley High School, Mount Valley Middle School, the curriculum, central office, business office, and technology budgets. We went through line by line to see if anybody wanted to talk about any of those. And I'm a newbie, so I did a lot of listening. Didn't ask a whole lot of questions. It was a pretty overwhelming process. In the next few meetings, we'll be doing the same. A lot of looking at these different areas to see how far off are we from the last year going into this next year. So there, this budget the district is trying to get it down to an 8% increase to taxpayers, and that is like causing everybody to lose their breath. I was on a Zoom call for like a statewide regional school board association, and everybody was talking about this. So it is not just our district, but the state subsidy is actually less. It seems like everywhere across the state. And to answer your question, no, it was Mary Ann's question. Right, is the state meeting at 55%, and our district, RSU 10, is actually at 69%. So we're receiving a lot of state subsidy, but still, going back to what our superintendent had said a couple of meetings ago, that this year, the state is only giving us, I say only, but $40,000 more than what they gave us more last year. And I talked about that last time, so it was the state subsidy that was given to us a few years ago was $15 million and change, and then it increased by like $700,000 to $15 million and, $700,000. And then it jumped $2 million, 2 years ago, I believe. So now we're not jumping $2 million, now we're jumping $40,000. So my listening is showing me that the district is used to getting a set amount of increase from the state each year, and this year is not that. So this $40,000 increase does not even cover, I believe, what the Region 9, there's a project at Region 9 that's not even covering, or it's not covering the, we're already in budget negotiation, contract negotiations, I think it's with the bus drivers. I'm not entirely sure. There's a lot of things going on here, but it doesn't cover the increase from that that's going to be coming either. So, like, there's just different pay increases that happen. And so, this is not, this $40,000 increase is really having a dramatic effect on the budget. So, the biggest areas really that really went up this last year, the special ed out-of-district transportation costs. That means somebody has to bring these kids out of district. And there are 19 to 20 kids that are coming from our district out. Like Margaret Murphy, they have different locations. And so the cost of that transportation, ride share, I believe is the name of the transportation, because we don't have enough bus drivers or we don't have a van to take these kids, so that cost is pretty expensive. In addition to that, the way that special ed out of district has been billed in the past has changed this year, and it's a substantial increase. So my understanding is it used to be that when kids showed up out of district, then we were billed for that day. But now it's kind of like daycare. They need to know that you're paying for like a week's worth of daycare, whether your kid shows up 3 days a week or 5 days a week. So that's a dramatic increase in the way that these out-of-district providers are charging. So that is substantial, and it's really thrown the budget off. The superintendent's words last night, the out-of-district costs have more than doubled. Another area of increase that has been noted is that the bus drivers or custodians are making a lot of money on overtime. But so we hear in all of the talk in the community that there weren't enough bus drivers, or a game had to be canceled because there wasn't a bus driver. But there's a lot of overtime going there. So what's to be done about that to try and cut costs? But costs are being cut everywhere, and currently, last night was really the first time through slashing things. A bunch of programs are getting slashed, sports programs are getting slashed. $2 million cut came last night, boom, just like that. So there's more in the works that's going to be happening. And if anybody's ever interested to come to these budget meetings, please ask me. I'll let you know when they're happening. Please come. Let's see here. to step away from budget. On April 3rd at the Buckfield Junior Senior High School cafeteria, the building committee is going to be meeting with Harriman, who is the architectural firm that's been contracted to take a look at what are the options of moving the 6th grade from Sumner Elementary up to the high school. Harriman has been contracted, and so public can come if they would like to, but it's basically a building committee discussion that will be taking place. That's really the first time that they'll all meet. So April 3rd, I don't have a time on that yet. But again, if anybody's interested, reach out to me. And then, Mary Ann, I let you know that we're at 69% for the state subsidy. Bill, we do have federal allocations. You had asked that. I didn't dive into that too much, but there's Title I that comes into the district. I don't understand all of that, but I'll get there. Stacy, you had asked a question about the situation with hot lunches not being provided and because of a lack of propane, but that was just an internet rumor. It was not a lack of propane. It was that a new fire alarm had been installed and somehow it aligned with propane, had to get shut off in the kitchen. So it was an issue with that. So there was no lack of propane and the school was fine to be heated. And then, let's see. Nancy, you had asked about the buildings. So when the new school is being built, Morovia School will remain, and the town of Mexico is going to be using that. It would have cost money to the district to demolish that building, but since the buildings belonged to the towns prior to the district forming, so when Mexico was its own town, still is its own town, but when it had its own high school, town of Mexico had its own buildings. And same for Rumford, town of Rumford had its own buildings. And then they merged to make Mountain Valley. Well, those schools came into the district. And then since the district has gotten bigger, before it got smaller. But law states that if these schools are no longer going to be used, then the towns that they originally belonged to get first dibs on them. So Rumford Elementary School and Morovia Elementary School will be utilized by the towns of Rumford and Mexico respectively. And then the middle school end up being bulldozed down. That's going to be used for fields and sports stuff. So if that was that question, yes.
When you say it goes back to the town, do they get it? They just get it, or do they pay?
I don't know the weeds of that, but it had been theirs initially, then the district, whether the district bought the buildings from them when Rumford and Mexico merged to Mountain Valley back in the 90s. I don't know all of the ins and outs of that, but you can read my email if you would like to look at that, and I can show you the exact answer of the wording from the superintendent. And lastly, Sean, have you heard anything? What have you heard about the guardrail?
Yeah, they're supposed to be middle to end of March.
Okay, that's what I was told too.
Yep.
So I saw Devin Roberts at the Building Grounds and Transportation meeting, and he had it scheduled with a contractor. So you guys, good, awesome. Any more questions? Yes.
It's my understanding that the federal government also is supposed to be providing funds for special education.
I'm going to take a look deeper into that, and
Right.
yes, again, lots that I'm absorbing
Right,
here and
right,
trying to
right.
understand, but that actually is something I was talking to somebody else about today, and I want to go deeper into that, and I've actually reached out to some of our legislators to get a better picture on that. So, and if you have more information that you can help me understand that, I'm
Sure,
all ears
sure,
afterwards.
sure.
Yes.
Former special ed teacher.
Okay.
Do you recall what the price tag was for those 19 and 20 students with special needs?
I was listening to a lot of numbers and I'm getting them mixed up in my head. And I'm afraid to say because I don't want to be wrong, but if I've looked at my information correct. Susan, are you adept at looking at these budget items? Do you want to come up here and just make sure I have this right? believe that this right here, says post. So I think it goes like this. So, these are other. Instruction, so this is out of district tuition. So that's. So that, so. Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's, okay. So
I want to say when you came back.
I know, and I just want to make sure that I'm correct here, but, yeah, I'll get back with you on that, because I don't want to scare anybody. Yes.
I didn't maybe hear you. 19 children from Sumner or 19 children from the
The
district?
whole district, there's 19 to 20 kids that cannot be, and maybe you can help me with this, Deb, the breakdown of special ed, but there's something that takes place within the school where you have an ed tech, and then there's different variations of that, and then you have rooms that the kids can go to, and it can be varying levels of that, of whether it's one-on-one or
Varying levels of support. for the
support.
kids,
Yes, thank you. And then there is WFRP, which was the old Virginia Elementary School, but that's where we do have a provider in district, but a certain level of kids can go to that location, and that location has contracted out not only with our district, but neighboring districts. And then there's kids that need ultimate level of support that do go out of district
To Margaret Murphy.
Margaret Murphy. There may be some other providers as well. There's 19 to 20 of those that leave our district.
Do we know how many are from Sumner? So that's a large percentage.
For Rumford, Max, like the whole district plus the Mizzinskid region. So it's the Mountain Valley region and the Mizzinskid region. And
It's all of ours, you
all of our SU10. So I don't know what that encompasses for the town of Sumner. No. What's that, Nancy?
We don't have any kids that leave that go to Margaret Murphy from here.
Um,
We didn't 2 years ago.
Well, I don't have that answer. I've never seen any information
They're all
about
up there.
that,
They have a
so.
bus that goes up there, 2 of them. I saw the job postings.
Yeah. So, any other questions?
I know too much.
I'll get you better.
The context of that was just.
I know, I don't wanna, I might have been wrong, and I just don't wanna put that out there, but, so, oh, wait, I'm not done yet. Oh, we're waiting, one of the aspects of the budget that we're waiting on, I'm sorry, I jumped back to budget, but medical insurance and what that's gonna look like for this year, apparently by the end of March is when the benefits basically are known for the next year. So 10% is factored into the budget. What the cap will be, if it'll be more than that, if it'll be less than that, the budget will have to adjust from there. And what they had said, one year, it didn't change, it was at 0%, so that was great. But that will be known at the end of March, and by the first week in April, they'll know how much the budget can wiggle from there. So, how am I doing?
You're doing great.
Pretty impressive, actually, yes.
Okay, as far as the code enforcement plumbing inspector report, we have none tonight. Fred Collins is recovering from his injury and trying to get caught up. We have heard the concerns from the community regarding a couple of septic system issues, and we're doing our best to look into that. Okay, fire department report with Doug.
We have received our pagers and radios for the forestry grant. Getting our gear from Stephen King grant. Our second assistant chief's father is a chief down in Vermont. He's gonna be donating 6 air packs and all this.
Wow.
So it's gonna be more upkeep. So we're gonna be asking for an increase in our budget again this year because our membership has doubled and we're gonna have more gear to keep up. So aside from that, everything's good. Any questions?
So how often are you called out for, like, there was a wire down on Black Mountain in front of the Knight's house yesterday? How often are you guys called out to work on things like that?
I don't know. You know, we only got called once this time. Sometimes we get called 2 or 3 times a day, so.
This is not a question necessarily to answer for tonight, but just food for thought. Not that I would want us to turn away any volunteers. I'd certainly rather be on the side of having too many than not enough. But if we continue to get people coming on board, we at some point need to make tryouts or something to, I don't know if we would ever get to this point, but essentially having enough people that was more than we can maintain.
We got a couple more that are interested in up to 14 right now.
So just food for thought, maybe you and some of the other senior firefighters can.
It's been good to 20. It's been a long time since we had this many guys.
Well, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Takes time, extra training, extra gear, extra equipment. We got.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, roads report. Sean?
Yeah, they're in pretty bad shape right now. We're gonna let it dry up here a little bit. I will be out on the dirt roads with the rock rake before we can get out with a grader. He's still too soft, but I can straighten it out once it stops raining and the water puddles dry up. And I am looking into a hot topping wagon so I can heat up my hot top. I know we got a lot of places to patch up, but it's still just too early to do that. Hopefully in the next week or two, we can be out and boom patching holes. Other than that, that's about it on the roads. I did get 600 yards of gravel hauled into the pit up there. So if your road is a dirt road and gets real bad and it's an emergency, you can't get through, let me know. We can haul some gravel into it.
What sort of stress is our bump signs putting on your budget?
Pretty bad, yeah, they're everywhere. Some roads, I'd just like to say, you pass it on rest. Like Wall Sumner Hill.
Yes.
Yep. Bad.
I got a spreadsheet from Bill Glass, I guess when they were first getting together a while back.
Yep.
You guys had put some things together. That was really
Yep.
cool to see. So I'd love to see when you and the roads committee get together, if we can make updates to that and just keep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yep.
Okay, animal control.
Yeah, that has actually been a little fun this week. I had to go pick up a dog at Fred Campbell's old house. The owner died, he lived alone, and the dog was there, so I had to go pick the dog up. I was nervous about it. Everybody said it was a vicious dog. It was one of the friendliest dogs I've ever had. It was a smart dog. I had that for 3 or 4 hours, and the sister lives in Buckfield, so she wanted it, so I took it to her. But I still do have a 9-month-old puppy out there right now on the Abbott Pond Road. It went out with the adult dog. The adult dog come back and the puppy didn't.
Oh.
So it don't sound too good. We've been up there running around a little bit trying to find it, but no luck yet.
What
So
road did you say?
it would be Abbott Pond Road is where the puppy come from, so around that area. I guess it looks, it's black and, it looks probably like a German Shepherd. Yeah,
And it's a puppy, so it's friendly, right?
I would think so, yeah. That's it on that.
In regards to the other situation, that lady called the Attorney General's office, and they gave her a number
Okay,
for us to call. I think it's the state. I haven't had a chance to call yet. I just got it
okay.
earlier, but.
And what Joel's referring to is we're having issues with Jonathan again down on the Damon Road. And we're gonna put a stop to it. We've got to. We've got pictures of it now with the dog off the leash. That dog's gonna be stopped before summertime gets here.
She's very concerned about the kids out on the.
Absolutely, yep.
All
That's
right.
it on that.
Forms, reports, correspondence. We put out the invitation last week to bid for the winter sand supply. We tried to send out requests for the top 5 or 6 that I could think of. If there's anyone you know of that may be interested that we might not have thought of, please let us know and we'll certainly send them the invitation. I'll just read this real quick. The town of Sumner is requesting bids for the supply and stockpiling of 5,000 cubic yards of sand for a 3-year period, beginning with the 2024-2025 season and ending with the 2027-2028 season. Sand amount is based on estimating remaining from the previous season with additional sand added to equal 5,000 cubic yards. Bids are to be enclosed in a sealed envelope marked bid and are to be submitted for consideration to the Sumner Town Office not later than 4:30 p.m. on Friday, the 29th of March, 2024. Bids will be publicly open and read at the Select Board Meeting, Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. The Board of Selectmen specifically reserves the right to reject any or all bids and to award the contract to the person or organization which it feels will best satisfy the needs of the town of Sumner. Thank you, Diane Campbell, Clerk of Sumner.
I think sometimes we should have the sand pile measured out to see how much is there.
That's a really good idea.
Jeremy said he could do that. One of these days, we're gonna measure it.
Are you guys gonna push that up too, so it's,
Push it out,
yeah, I know Jeremy had talked about that the other day when we met.
push the back up further or something.
Yeah, so it's more like,
Yeah, we're gonna be working up there here right off, so we'll be straightening that out.
New business. Nomination papers for Select Board 3-year term. Available from March 15th. Return to the town office by April 23rd. I'm probably going to put in my papers for another term, but I will be quite honest with you, it's been a very challenging year for me, and if there's a highly qualified person that you know of that really loves this town and can do a good job, please tell them to take out papers. Richard, are you gonna take out papers?
Looking at you.
You know, if you sign up for the code enforcement training, I
won't try to get you on the appeals board.
Hey, like we talked about earlier, you said that was a big target.
Okay. Wanted to vote on the personnel policy tonight. The idea is that we really need to have our personnel policy in place before we hire a new deputy. But I've got, I still haven't heard back. To be quite frank with you, there's a good possibility I have heard back from MMA with their input, but I haven't seen it yet. So I want to push that 2 more weeks till we can look over this policy one more time, take the input from MMA, and then hopefully vote on it at the next select board meeting. Once again, those of you policy committee members here, thank you very much for your help, because that was a big lift. That was a whole lot of work. Thank you so much. Old business. We are in the process of interviewing for the deputy town clerk position. We'll keep you posted. ATV club access to some roads in town to connect trails. Jesse, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So I sat down with the ATV club a couple weeks ago. We started receiving emails from the club wanting to know what we were going to do about their temporary status that had kind of expired, and Mary Ann brought up about the signs going from temporary to permanent signs. So I sat down with them for a couple hours just to kind of hear them out and hear their perspective. To give you some background, I've ridden ATVs pretty much since I was walking. And so I understand both sides of the argument very well. I don't want to see a whole train of ATVs going down my road, just like probably many of you don't. But I also understand that people that ride ATVs are fun. Mark's had a couple of, he's now the president again, so he had stepped down after one of the meetings here where he kind of lost his cool a little bit. And so he keeps having the same question, and the question is, what's the big deal with ATVs? Why does everybody get all up in arms about ATVs, but not hunting and fishing and hiking and all the other, even snowmobiles? But so I felt like I could bring that answer to him, and that answer that I believe is that they're annoying. That if you're not the one that's on them, they're annoying. So he kind of couldn't disagree with me at that point, him and the trailhead trail master that was there, and one other guy that's part of the club. If you're not the one that's on it, it can be annoying. I said, if you're driving down the road on a dirt road and you're out enjoying your summer day, a cloud of dust goes by, we all know the stories. So what they're doing is they are getting signatures for support along their access routes that they are asking for. So they're asking for Greenwood from the store to Black Mountain Road to Reading, and Reading Road, so I believe it's Woodstock is where the trailhead is. So that access route is all they're asking for. They're not looking for additional, with the exception of Bill made a good point in 2000, and it was either in the 2002 vote or the 2015, I believe, so River Road was actually on the warrant specifically, and it was voted down. But I do currently believe that they're using River Road from one side of the bridge to cross over and then all the way up to where Damon is. So I'll have to double check on that. But I believe they'll need that access as well. So they're currently getting their signatures of support. If there's signatures or people want to have, I know Mary Ann's has a complaint or had a complaint, people driving too fast, etc. If you have one, we want to hear that side too. And I think, unless I'm mistaken, the opinion of the board is that this access route would go to town vote in June and let the town decide. It's not, yeah.
So the question is, the decision that was made, is Mark still? You were the one who brought it up that it didn't pass, that the town had a town vote.
There has been a.
And I don't know what year that was.
One was, it's on page B, Article 15 of 2002, 2003 report. It was a 2/3 majority against having any ATVs on town roads, except for 4 roads. And then, as you mentioned, in 2014-15, there was another vote reducing that number. So it was, obviously, it should have been incorporated into the town policy because it was by the town vote. And that is the custom that any major issues go to the town vote at the annual town meeting. So, as you pointed out, there's nothing to prevent the issue from going before the town meeting again. And it shouldn't be decided on by the selectmen, it should be decided on by the town, because that has been the tradition of the town.
So what would be happening, so the reason I asked the question is, so it would be a change in policy, which I don't remember whether it would have to, it's not at the level of ordinance.
Yep.
So it is a policy. So that's technically something that doesn't go to town report, but the fact that it was voted at the town meeting has a level of that.
I believe Bill had pulled up the actual minutes
I don't
for
have
both of
them.
them. I forgot to ask him to bring them, but he had pulled up the minutes from those meetings, so we knew that it had unanimously went down the 2002 vote, and it was closer on the 2015, if I'm not mistaken, but
3019.
something like that. Yeah. So,
50%. And so I get 39, so that's also 2/3 down. So in both cases, it was voted down by about 2/3 of the town.
Yep.
And so, but selectmen can take a petition from townspeople to bring it for the town vote. That is called citizen, just as it was in 2002, it's called citizen-initiated petition.
So do you think that's what's happening with Mark right now? Are they getting letters or are they getting petitions?
I believe they're just getting letters of support from residents along the route to show their support. I don't believe it's in the form of petition.
I think one of my biggest concerns, I mean, Mark may say, we'll be good, but my experience on Black Mountain is that I don't know who's driving the ATV, but there's no one who pays attention to the speed limit coming up and down. I wish I had a speed gun, and I see them going up and down. But, if it's not Sumner people who are using our trails, what avenues do we have as a town to do anything about them speeding?
Yeah. So
that's my question.
Yeah. So if it's the whole process to get the trail system and then connecting the trailhead. So one of the misconceptions was the state law is you only have 1,000 or 1,500 feet to go from across the road or down a road. That's not accurate if it's an actual approved access road. It can be miles on an access road. So the only roads that aren't subject to that would be state roads like 219, Route 26. Those are 1,000 feet. You can't go down any further than that because of the traffic volume. And then so they start with, you have to build a trail system in the town, and then you have to basically connect the dots to your town borders. and then connect to trails going out. So this, this route that they have or had previously connects those two trailheads for them and meets all the requirements to get all their state funding. So this club was also just granted 10 miles of Buckfield's ATV trails to basically have jurisdiction over, whatever you want to call it. So I understand it's a controversial issue, so I think our agreement was to, if we have to do a petition to bring it before the town, to do that before June. They felt that they wanted to come here tonight. That was kind of the plan on Facebook, was to be here and have everybody come and show support. I told them they were more than welcome to, but if they wanted me to communicate it, I would. So they felt that I understood both sides pretty well, that I could come and communicate it. As far as, us personally, that's irrelevant. We feel that if we just send it to a town vote and let citizens decide what they want to do. Yes, ma'am.
One of the reasons there was so much concern before is because there of insurance problems. And the problem is that there was also a fatality on Upper Sumner Hill Road because of a collision between an ATV and a car. So those were major considerations.
Sure. Mark, I'll have to go back and make sure I understood it correctly, but Mark was explaining something about the legalities in insurance and who's liable and who's not on the access roads. And I don't want to speak specifically because I don't remember, we talked about it a lot, but I believe if the club has access and on that road, anything that takes place on those roads is not a town liability issue.
I think I can kind of verify that. Chris and I went to the meeting in Canton where they clubbed and some law enforcement individuals and one of the state certified trail certifiers, for lack of a better term, was there. And there's a pretty good dialogue between the presidents and the select board, the concerned townspeople, and the sheriff's department and the warden service. And what I gathered was that as long as the trails are properly marked and certified, that the town is not liable for what happens with the ATVers having accidents. But in this world, we live in, yes.
Since Greenwich Road is a state road, do we have the authority to grant access?
Yeah, the only distinction is if it's actually considered a route, like Route 219 or Route 26. That was how it was explained to me. I can look further into that, but
Being a state road is specific to those particular designations.
Right. Yeah, so like I guess, he uses the word workaround, which isn't like trying to sneak something through, but like try to get something worked around everybody, not anybody noticing. He just means that there's alternatives to how they can get there. So like, they attempted to go to Reading Road down to the bridge, and they wanted to use the snowmobile trail to cut over and get as close to the store as they could over on Greenwood. But there was one landowner that didn't want to allow ATVs on their property, so that was why they needed to go down to Black Mountain. Previously, they said they used to use go out to Arthur Allen Road and then Kittredge Road, but I guess there's a gentleman out there that it's not an easement. I guess I didn't look into it, but he gated the road off. He owns both sides. And previously, back when I was riding ATV still back in the early 2000s, if it was a discontinued town road in the state of Maine and you owned both sides of the road if the only person that could go through that is a landowner that's past you, so you could stop any ATVs. So I assume that's what's going on there, but, so that's what they used to use, and then he also said you could come out Keith Hill Road and cut across and get to River Road that way, but that's more than 1,000 feet on the 219. So that kind of shut that off. The reason the signs got changed is because they've kind of been in limbo, partially because of everything that's been going on here with us. They came to a meeting after Mark had stepped down. I believe it's Dave Common and the guy from West Paris, Jason, came here and wanted to know when we were going to discuss it. I told him, you know, maybe over winter would make most sense since we had a lot going on. And where was I going with that? So.
The
yeah.
signs,
What's that?
the signs.
Oh, the signs, yeah, sorry. So the signs were the temporary ones that were plastic. The gentleman from the state that actually GPS tracks the whole entire route system for the entire state, like he travels it with the GPS, so it's marked out. He's the one that took the signs down because they had to get their permanent signs up within a certain time frame that they're going to lose their funding. So they bought the signs and put them up in hopes that they will get this resolved, and if not, we will request it to be removed. So technically, we don't.
We're not in a position to ask them to take them down yet.
Right now, I mean, at this point, with the amount of time between now and the town meeting, you know, pull them down and possibly put them back up. I mean,
I think my concern again is non-Sumner users.
Right.
I mean, if this is a trail system that goes West Paris, Peru, you know, all over, and, you know, what are towns doing if they have access roads to keeping, I mean, ATVs are not supposed to go over a certain speed limit.
Right.
Theory, but they don't seem to honor that.
I got brought up at the camp meeting, the sheriff's deputy did make a pretty good point. He said, I want anyone in this room to raise your hand if you don't go a mile an hour over 55 on Route 108. And his point was, he said, there's people who respect the law and people who don't. And the same people that respect the law, at least to some degree on the highways, will respect them on the trails, and the ones that won't never will.
Right. So that Mark had, you know, brought that up. He said, you know, the majority of the traffic on that route is from Reading Road headed to Woodstock, the vast majority of it. And so I asked him, like, how many machines do you see a weekend? On a typical summer weekend, they might see a dozen to 2 dozen. And then on a holiday weekend, it might be more like 3 or 4 dozen. But he said the vast majority of it is going from Reading Road. Now, it doesn't mean they didn't come down Black Mountain or Greenwood, but they're going to Woodstock.
You can't get there from not going. I mean, Reading connects to Black Mountain. So
Right. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it is just their own club members and family members that are on Reading. But it does open up, you know, that's what I asked him, is what's to stop somebody from, you know, having a big event at their place and having the whole entire club and all kinds of people show up. And he said, I want to make sure that if you are a club member and you have, you know, you've only got a mile to get to an access route, are all those club members, are they breaking the law going from their house to the access route? And he said that they are. So they either need to be on the access route or they need to go there and unload, and they're technically breaking the travel laws. He's like, are they going to do that anyways? Most likely. But that's up to them. Some of his points to speeds are, if you know you can be there and you're not going to get busted by the game warden or anybody else, that you'll drive slower. But he does recognize that probably 70% of riders are decent and follow the respect of the rules. He said he chases them down if they go flying by his house. He'll chase them down and reprimand them, so they'll, you know, hopefully not ruin it for everybody. So it was a good meeting. I, told them we weren't, against whatever, we're just here to do what the town wants us to do for this thing, so. So that's where we're at with that. So that's why the permanent signs went up. Any other questions?
Okay, Mary Ann, you want to talk about the lighting?
I think
Those are new.
those are all new. I think Don was in here Monday, and had found that the work in the kitchen, or the map, I can't remember which, had already been traded out.
Kitchen.
The
Kitchen
kitchen area
was
had been
done.
done. So, I haven't talked to him since, I talked to him on yesterday. So I don't know if he has any more work or if it's all done.
He finished up in here today.
So, that,
You're supposed to do the outside light too, isn't it?
say again?
You're supposed to do the outside light too.
Yeah, and I think he was gonna talk to you about the size or something of that light. So I think that concludes the projects, the 4 projects that we have. I think he got it done before he knew that he could he'd already ordered his materials before the option to use some of the money from the appliances that we saved from the appliances. So we didn't spend as much money as the grant gave us, and we'll do a report, and the end of the report, final report will be toward the October. And then I just would like to say again, I'd like to reconstitute, find more people who'd like to work on the committee so we can start thinking about the next grant cycle, which will be in December, the grant for the next go round. I mean, we have the information that we did from the first one, but I think it would be good if we clear back here and start talking about what we'd like to see for the next round. But I can't think of any reason why we wouldn't do it.
These lights are going to be replaced.
They have been, these are LEDs. John did that.
Does the money have to be spent on this building or town property?
Does not have to be town property. There's a whole, there's like 72 options that we looked at in the first round. And so that, we go back and start talking about, when we're talking roads, I don't know if there's road options, but there's all kinds of things around resilience. The premise is resilience. How do we help our town to be as resilient as possible? And that's the whole goal of those grant process. So, and I think I have, still have all this stuff, but if there's some people who would like to see the first process we went through, we will have to share it with you. And then we can look at how we move on next. Talked about solar as being able to, can we do solar here? We can't, at least at this point, can't do community solar. But it's the option now, we have the C costs, and they do use more electricity, so how do we mitigate that? So it's actually finding a place where we can put up solar for the town. There's lots of options, other things like that. So, appreciate all the work Don did and everybody who helped with Diane, who got the really good deal on all the appliances, so.
Susan's doing it. Right? Susan's job,
For the appliances at half the cost that they projected for us. And all of that, everybody should go look at them. So, thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Mary Ann. And Don, if you watch this, thanks for all your hard work. Okay, upcoming events. If you guys haven't had a chance to see Nancy's quilt that's in the office, take a look, and you're probably going to want to buy a raffle ticket for it. Tickets are $1 a piece or $5 for 6 tickets. This is obviously to benefit the fire department. This is a ladies auxiliary activity, and these donations are being received in memory of Betty Walden.
Drawing will be held June 1st, 2024. Other than that, reminder that the town meeting this year is going to be Saturday, June 22nd. 2024. Gentlemen, do we have any further business to conduct?
Who's coming in?
I would motion that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? This meeting is adjourned at 7:48